Hey guys, this is Samuel to Geek. I have another video on Joshua Fluke for you. I know it can be a little corny doing two videos on the same person, one after the other, but I was sent this by one of my friends on Facebook after seeing my first video, and he wanted me to watch this video because apparently he wants me to torture myself because he told me that basically this video has pretty much contradicted the entirety of the video that I responded to. He said that when he first got introduced to Mr. Fluke, this was the video that he watched, and that this is the video that made him subscribe to Mr. Fluke. And when he saw that GPA video, he remembered it, and he was like, that's so bizarre, after he watched my video, because he's like, this video basically says a lot of the same things you did. So let's watch 6 things my degree did not teach. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this one.
This little piece of paper, this is my bachelor's degree of mechanical engineering. It's not super exciting. It's
okay. Just a small little nitpick, because he did this in the last video as well. I just need to put this out there because it bugs me. That's a diploma, not a degree. A degree is a program, okay? It's the process of you going through college. It's your qualifications. So when you have a bachelor's degree, you're saying that you are able to, show that you can demonstrate those skills. It's just an endorsement by the university. That's a diploma. Diploma is the piece of paper, okay? All right, I know it's dumb and small and nitpicky, but it just bugs me because, come on, man. You're a college graduate. You should know that.
just from a little no-name university in Finland. And apparently once you get this, everything in your life changes, and then you get a good job, and you get a good internship, and you get a good salary, and everything happens once you get this little tiny piece of plastic, and then you frame it. Like, I don't even have mine framed.
Okay. Degree doesn't guarantee anything. All it says is that the university endorses you as an alumni of their program, that you have sufficiently completed the program, and that it shows that you should be able to know the skill that you accomplished by completing that program. So no name Finland college, as you say, because I still can't see what college you went to on that when you hold it up there. No name Finland college says that Joshua Fluke is proficient at mechanical engineering, that he should be able to know the basics of mechanical engineering, because that's what a bachelor's degree is. It basically says that you know the basics, that you are able to enter the workforce. You have enough knowledge to enter the workforce in mechanical engineering, and that college endorses that fact. That's all it means.
Here's my degree certificate here. I don't know if you could see it, kinda.
Diploma.
There's a lot you do learn in college, okay? There's no doubt about that. You definitely learn for mechanical engineering. You got Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3, and then the final boss, not differential equations, not dynamics, not strength of materials, not ultra-hard physics. It's called Excel, which is what you do in life. You also learn how to work with people that don't pull their weight. There's always that one guy in the group projects that's like, oh man, I was out last night, had a rager, it was just crazy, dude. There was like 3 girls, and there was like me, and like, I don't remember. And you're like,
okay. So it teaches you how to deal with that, but you kind of made that sound like a huge burden in the GPA video, to the point where it would tank your GPA. Like, it was such an obstacle in comparison to the workforce that it would tank your GPA. But here you say that this teaches you as a soft skill. This is just frustrating because this was the exact same point I made against that GPA video, and he just says it openly in this one.
yeah, that's cool, man, but I'm just...
I'm just going to say it. I think that this gentleman is part of a trend I've seen where people, they're frustrated with the education system, and so they take a lot of the grievances, the small grievances they had during their time in the education system, and have like worked backwards to try to justify them as slights against the entire thing without getting to know the education system and why it was set up the way it was. And they're trying to, I don't know, delegitimize the institution of the education system by taking these small grievances that most people can handle and most people understand that are part of the education system and have blown them wildly out of proportion to try and justify why the education system either needs drastic reform or it needs something done to it, because they don't understand that there's been lots of trial and error put into forming the current education system. A lot of your brilliant ideas were found out a long time ago, and they were tried and implemented and failed. All right? I mean, the education system has literally hundreds of years of research and development put into it. All right? So, let's just go on.
Trying to pass the class. He's like, "Oh, dude, so sorry about that. Like, let me like write that last paragraph for you." And you learn how to work with people like that just you don't really have a choice in working with, which kind of prepares you for real life. College also taught me that famous phrase.
I just find it hilarious because he really harped on his own professors for telling him the same thing. But okay.
For my English teachers, it was like, if you're early, you're on time. And if you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're fired, okay? And it's like, but you're allowed to be late, right? Well, I'm the teacher, so I could be late. Oh, all right.
Well, I mean, you are a consumer of the product that is college when you are a student. If you have significant issues with the professor being consistently late, why don't you go to your dean or to your advisor, or you can write the president of the university's office and let them know about this issue. I mean, it does way more than you think so. Or if you're uncomfortable putting your own name out there, going to your student senator who represents your program and let him do it. He or she, your senator, let your senator do it. All right? I mean, it's not that difficult. It's not that complicated to correct that problem, or at least get the ball rolling on it.
I want to talk about what you don't learn in college. I hear a lot of people talking about like their intense, my math class is Tuesday and Thursday, and it's super hard, and like, I just got a couple classes, and man, it's intense. And I just have news for you out there. If you think Tuesdays and Thursdays or Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes are really hard, it's really not going to be that hard compared to the 40-hour or 80-hour weeks that you'll be working.
Oh my God. This video is so frustrating. My Facebook friend was absolutely correct. This entire point debunks like a huge portion of his GPA video. A huge portion of it. Because his entire GPA video, he was harping on the fact that GPA does not communicate to employers how difficult college life can be based on life circumstances. And in this video, he is complaining that college is so easy that you better, I mean, it's just insane. This video is a direct contrast to every complaint he had in the GPA video. I don't know. This video was made a year ago, so maybe he had like a dramatic change of opinion from the 6 things my degree did not teach to GPAs are nothing or trash or whatever the hell he said. Like, it's just insane. Every point he made in that previous GPA video is being debunked by this one. And it's very obvious that he just has a beef with the education system, and he doesn't know how to articulate it in a way that's non-anecdotal. But let's see.
It's actually pretty easy, so you should enjoy the time while you have like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like you have one class that's 2 hours, and you come home and play video games and then do your homework, and somehow you can't even manage to do your homework because you're just it's so lax. Like you have all this free time, but somehow you still never have any time to do your homework or study. One other thing.
Okay. I also have a beef with this argument because many people are amazing at their job, but the school confines, like the system that school has, just wasn't for them, and it wasn't set up in a way for them to be comfortable, and they weren't very comfortable with how school is set up. I know this personally because I was a terrible high school student, but I'm a very good employee, and I was a very good college student because, I didn't have security guards breathing down my neck. I wasn't forced to be there. I was there out of my own voluntary will. I think freedom allowed me to be more relaxed with the situation. I could wear what I want. Like in elementary school, I had lots of problems because there was uniforms. I think the more relaxed nature of college and a workplace, or you know what you're getting into, and there's no, that was a lot more freeing to me. So I could see how someone who, needs more structure in their life could actually be way more comfortable in a 40-hour, you need to be here on this time and leave at this time, 9 to 5 setting, as opposed to college, which, depending on your homework, doesn't literally have a set time schedule. I know a lot of people who function way better when there is an actual schedule as opposed to kind of the free-flowing form of college. So, I don't know. I disagree with that point heavily.
We pay for college with money that we don't have. This is known as student loans. What a lot of people don't know is that student loans follow you for life, forever. You cannot get rid of them unless you work like a...
Well, that's if you take the very traditional student loan from the government. You can get private loans. You could also take advantage of local scholarship opportunities. You should always know your local laws. You should always know your local opportunities. Where I grew up in New Mexico, there was the lottery scholarship, which means basically if you graduated from a New Mexico high school and you decided to go to a New Mexico state school, as long as you could pay for the first semester and you kept 15 credit hours and a 3.0 GPA, the state would pay for your school. And here in Maryland, if you make under a certain income, you can go tuition free to certain community colleges. So there's that as well. And I know also that there are a lot of colleges that go out of their way to promote scholarships, especially for their lower income students. So it's all about knowing your degree program, knowing your local laws and your local government and how they finance state schools if you decide to want to go to a state school. And also, there's always the option that you can go to a community college for an associate's degree and basically pay very, very little for the first 2 years of college and then go to a small state school, which tend to have very low tuitions. And then if you really want to spend a lot of money on school, you can go to graduate school. That's what I did. My tuition in undergrad was around $1,000 a semester, which is very cheap in comparison to a lot of places. And, that's just what you have to think about. Like, what do you value? Do you need to go to this program? Is the specialty you're looking for at a specific school that you have to go to? I mean, if you're going for something general like engineering or business, you may want to consider your options, Like I said in that previous video, the fancy degrees are really only for the network. If you are going into something general or something, like if you're not looking to go to Wall Street and you just want to work at Wells Fargo Finance, like your local Wells Fargo branch finance or something, you don't need to go to Harvard, all right? You need to go to Harvard if you want to go into finance, like on Wall Street, if you want to work for McKinsey or Bain Capital or something like that. But if you just want to work for your local Wells Fargo branch or something, go to, I don't know, your local university or community college. Like, you don't need a fancy degree. You're only paying for the network. So there's that. And then also, when it comes to student loans, I mean, most student loan debt in the United States is graduate education. Like, most people pay their student loans back. So it doesn't follow most people forever. They pay them back.
A government or public service job, which they offer, and if you work there and put your years in, 10, 15, 20 years, depending on what it is, they'll forgive the rest of your loans.
Yeah, he's right. There's a lot of places that do that, and there's a lot of places that do it earlier, like a lot of states or local governments that do it earlier. And then there's a lot of those jobs that if you start before you get a degree, you can actually get a degree on the government. Like, say, for instance, in some states, you can start at the DMV, being like a clerk. You don't need a college degree for that. And you want to move into management or something, a lot of local governments will have money set aside so that you could go to an online night school course and you can work your way up, and they'll pay for that education so that you can move up within the department so they can promote within. And there's a lot of employers that do that as well. So just another option.
So you just pay for those years, the amount that you owe every month. At the end of those 10 years of service, they'll just wipe the rest and you don't have to pay anymore. You could have $10 million, $15 million of real estate, and then you could declare bankruptcy, and that would clear all of that money, right? Like, you declare bankruptcy, okay, those student loans stay. Bankruptcy does not get rid of student loans.
Thanks, Obama. Yeah, in case you didn't know, President Obama is the reason why that is the case. Student loans used to be a lot more like regular loans, but a lot of creditors before that, when that was the case, would be very hesitant on who they lent student loans to, which led a lot of people from lower income to not be able to secure student loans. And in some ways that was a positive thing because it made them make more practical decisions, like going to a smaller school, like a community college or a state university, and it allowed them to budget better. But when President Obama thought that was unfair, which, in some ways I can see his point, he basically made it so that these student loans had to be available to everyone, and that part of the devil's bargain on that is that they could basically never be bankrupt. They can never, you can never bankrupt on them. You can never, get rid of them that way. And that was part of the devil's bargain on that, because that was the only way they could make sure that lenders would still receive their money. Because before, like, say you wanted to get a student loan from Wells Fargo or someone like that, they would look at your grades and your history, and based off those determinations decide whether or not you would get a loan to that school, because they knew the risks of letting someone with a low GPA go to a school with a low graduation rate, things like that. You know what I mean? So they didn't think there would be a good return on investment. And unfortunately, this actually compounded the situation where once this happened, once basically student loans were being able to be given to anyone, colleges responded by just raising their tuition, because now they knew that most students would just go to their college anyway, and they could get away with raising their tuition. And that's part of the gigantic tuition increases that you've seen across the country, was this move to nationalize student loans. So another case for being very careful about trying to alter systems that have been in place for a reason. It led people to bite off way more than they can chew with these student loans. And it made student loans very dangerous propositions for a lot of people. So my advice is be practical.
No matter what. When you're out there and you're 18 and you sign up for college and you're like, oh, $6,000 tuition every semester. Okay, well, you got 2 semesters a year, assuming you don't go to summer. So we got 6 times 4 years. That's 8 semesters. So 6 times 8 is $48,000.
Like I said, shop around and make the best decision for your finances.
And that's assuming you don't have to retake any classes. That's not covering your books. That's not covering your fees. That's just like straight up tuition.
How many classes did you have to retake? Like, I don't know. He makes these bizarre points that are very hyper specific.
But when you look at it from a semester point and you're 18 and you're just excited about going to college to get that party life and see all those hot chicks and have all those ragers or whatever, you're not thinking about it. But if you're out there and you're going to college or you're considering taking out student loans, just be very careful that you're doing something or headed somewhere where you know that you're going to be able to pay those back.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Just make responsible decisions.
Another thing that college doesn't teach you is that if you open your own business, you can't get a loan for a mortgage for 2 years. I know this because
Or you can establish a very, very, very good personal credit. Or you can find a bank that would be willing to do it and stick a huge amount of interest on it. I mean, I learned this in college because I was a business major. You were a mechanical engineering major. I'm not sure why you thought you would learn this in college, considering you majored in a field where business management, business law, these things weren't taught. I assume that no-name Finland college had electives as part of their degree program, and you could have chosen to supplement some of those electives with business courses, and you chose not to. I assume that maybe some of those general ed requirements could have been supplemented with business courses as well, but I guess, like you said, you were 18 at the time, and you probably weren't thinking that far ahead. You probably didn't think that you would be starting a business, so you chose mechanical engineering.
Open a business and it hasn't been open for 2 years. So I asked my bank, hey, if I want to, can I get a loan if I want to start the real estate path? And they're like, no bank is going to give you a loan unless your business has been in business.
Shop around, buddy. Like, of course, the bank that you bank with is going to tell you things that are in their best interest. Go to some competition. Don't just settle for their word. They're just going to tell you what's in their best interest. I'm sure you could have found a bank that would have lent you that money. Probably wouldn't have been a very wise decision because, like I said, if you don't have a very good line of personal credit, or if you don't have an established profit history, they're likely going to hit you with very, very large interest rates. But if you have a personal credit history, you could probably have taken out the loan as a personal loan and then donated that money to your business. So I don't know. That's all in the weeds, but I don't know why you're mentioning this. You majored in mechanical engineering. I don't know what you expected. I mean, there are lots of, I'm sure your mechanical engineering program had, they probably had workshops where they taught you the basics of if you were going to start your own business. In mechanical engineering, I'm sure the business program at your school had professional development workshops that were available to anybody. I know that at all three of the schools I went to, they had them, and even now I could attend them for free through Zoom. I get emails about them. So my suggestion is, pay a little bit more attention to your surroundings in college. Pay a little more attention to the offerings that your school provides. I don't know. Let's see what else.
And it's been profitable for 2 years straight. And because you have your own business, the mortgage that they're going to give you, the interest rate on that is going to be insanely high. Let's say you could get a 3.2% interest rate loan, which would kind of match what you would see on like Zillow and stuff like that. When you see estimated payments, that's assuming like 2.8 to 4% kind of interest rate in there of what someone would pay if they were working like a salary job. In my opinion, if you have a side hustle, you need to open a business and you need to be showing at least some profit so that if you ever want to take a loan, you're going to need 2 years of profit.
Well, I mean, that's a smart idea. That is definitely an intelligent decision. Incorporating and developing separate lines of credit is smart. these are things I learned in business school. So I did learn it from my degree, as you would say.
Ahead of time before you're going to be able to get like a house, because no bank is going to give you a loan. Another thing they don't really teach you at college is time management skills. They teach you usually at the beginning of the first couple of classes when a new semester starts.
Yeah, it's called the syllabus. Most professors put a painstakingly amount of work into their syllabuses, and a lot of them also put the amount of time they believe each of one of their assignments is going to take, and they structure their courses through assignments to make sure that you have the best possible chance to learn how to structure things when you go into a professional environment. But I have a feeling you're one of the kids who was in school and would raise their hand and ask questions that were on the syllabus weeks into the semester without looking at the syllabus first.
They'll kind of tell you, well, this is how much you need to study every week if you have this many credit hours, and you go to like the orientation for the school, and they try to give you time management, but they don't give you time management. Everyone's not paying attention to that. They're just zoning out. They're just there because it's required for them.
Okay. So your college did teach you time management. It was just during orientation and syllabus time, and you just chose not to. I mean, this is ridiculous. You're complaining about something that they did do, but because they didn't do it in a way that you found necessary, you're complaining about it. But I have a feeling, based on your GPA video, that if every professor dedicated a significant portion of their class time to time management, that you would have been upset by that and said, why would I need to learn this? I know time management. So, I mean, I don't think the colleges can win, bro. I just don't think they can win. No matter what they do, you seem upset. Just say you don't like college. I mean, that's the gist of these videos, right?
For them to get into the school. In my recommendation, if you want to have time management skills, you need to make a list of everything that you're doing every single day and check them off. You can do it with Trello and drag it from in progress to done, or you can have a written list. I use Evernote. And
so my Facebook friend told me about this portion of the video and told me what I needed to look up for it, and I was waiting for this. This is third grade. I had a planner in third grade. Third grade, through all of elementary school, it was a requirement from every teacher that we learn how to plan and that we would write our homework or something about our day down. Obviously, I wrote Dr. Dre and scribbled on stuff because I didn't use it that much, or at the end of the weeks that were completed, I thought that was funny. You know, I was in third grade and Dr. Dre was on the radio, and I was just being a dumb little kid. But as you can see, I have my entire spelling homework here. And look, my teacher had to sign it. This is her signature, Miss Romero. Miss Romero had to sign at the end because I put homework here. They taught us and graded us on how we learned time management throughout elementary school. And I went to a rural, very low-funded school because I was in a low-income neighborhood. I was in a low-income rural school in northern New Mexico. New Mexico is ranked 49th in the United States for education. I was taught this stuff. So, I don't know. Maybe wherever you went to school in Georgia or at no-name Finland College, they didn't teach you this stuff. But me, in a rural, low-income school in a state that's ranked 49th out of 50th in education, I learned this stuff. This was my third grade planner, and I was laughing at it on Twitter because I wrote Dr. Dre and scribbled dogs and animals and stuff on it. I don't know. Maybe wherever you went to school, they didn't teach you that stuff, but almost everywhere I went to school, including elementary school, They pretty much taught us basics on how to plan out our semesters and days. Maybe you just weren't paying attention, like you admitted earlier.
And Notion, you could do the Pomodoro technique. That's 3 25-minute working sprints. And in between those 3 25-minute working sprints, you take a 5-minute break. And then after the fourth 25-minute working sprint, you take a 15-minute break. And then you rinse, repeat.
Okay.
And it'd be my recommendation that you try to set a number of Pomodoros to hit every single day. The next thing college doesn't really tell you about, if you master your craft, you'll always have a job. Maybe, if there's a market demand for that, if you get really good at one thing...
No. He's literally going to talk about how... So in the previous video, in the GPA video, in case you hadn't watched it, he made a giant rant about how MIT made you take courses that were not specialized in mechanical engineering in order to pass. And I specifically went on a big thing in that video that it's part of the liberal education philosophy that you take these courses to learn soft skills such as interacting with people and I have a feeling, I haven't watched this video so I don't know, but I have a feeling that he's going to come out and just basically... All right, let's just watch it.
And you have 10 years of this niche thing, unless there's a market demand for it or you can figure out a way to monetize it, that's not very good. I'm generalist over specialist because of job security for that reason. College doesn't really talk about job security at all whatsoever. They don't talk about the soft skills that you need for job security. They teach you, you major in something just so that you have a direction to go into. That doesn't mean that you should just keep doing that one thing forever and ever and ever.
This is just hilarious. It just completely contradicts a major portion of his GPA video. College absolutely does that. At least most of the traditional colleges, unless you went to a trade school or a certification program, college teaches you a lot of this stuff in like the first 2 years of college. Like the first 2 years of every major university, make sure to put a lot of general stuff in that very first year so that you could adapt to college and adapt to a lot of these soft skills, and so that you're not, surrounded by people who are in the same specialty as you, and that you're forced to, be around people that have different majors and think differently from you. That's like kind of like the whole point of the first 2 years of college, because even in those 200 level courses where you start to specialize, a lot of people take them as electives, especially, I don't know about mechanical engineering, but when as a business major, we had tons of people from different courses, different majors take some of our classes because they wanted to learn about starting their own business. Like I had a entrepreneurship class, and, that in that class we had people from mechanical and from engineering and computer science and stuff because they wanted to start their own business. We had people from psychology because they wanted to start their own practice. And they wanted to learn the basics about how the finances, about setting up a business. So it's just very frustrating because his whole previous video was like complaints about this stuff. These two videos absolutely contradict each other and further fuel my theory that he just dislikes college and is working backwards from minor frustrations he experienced.
You should always be building some side skills. College doesn't really tell you about sales and negotiation. No one ever
You went to school for mechanical engineering. You should have just been a business major. I learned all of this stuff extensively. I had sales courses. I had negotiation was part of almost every single class I took. It sounds like you just should have been a business major, bro. I don't know what to tell you.
Talks about how to negotiate your salary in the interview. Do you do it in the interview? What happens if on the application they request what your salary is?
Once again, a lot of this was covered in free professional workshops. I had these at community college level. I had these in the upper undergrad when I transferred to university, and I had these in grad school. I don't know, man. It just sounds like you didn't take advantage of a lot of the opportunities you had. I'm pretty sure, I don't know no name Finland College, but I'm sure if I contact their business department and ask if they had workshops on how to develop professional skills, and that were available to non-business students that were free, pretty sure they would tell me that they have them. Like, I don't know. This sounds like a lot of sour grapes on things that you missed out on or you didn't actively pursue. Now, I know from some of the titles of your other videos that you had a lot of personal issues going on at the time, but you really should not generalize your experience to everybody. Like, that's not how college is.
Are you going to give away the goods right then and there? I wouldn't. I would probably put, it depends on what I'm doing and who I'm working with. The number's not super important as long as I enjoy what I'm doing. The next thing college doesn't really talk about is how to work with people in different niches. You know what I mean? Like the engineer.
Once again, this is just frustrating. It just completely contradicts earlier points that he made in the GPA video. It does. That's the purpose of how they structure college. I don't 100% agree with that philosophy, mostly because I come from the Western United States originally. You know, I lived in New Mexico, I worked in Arizona, and we don't have trade schools really. So community colleges tend to fill those gaps, and I feel like a lot of trade students, like hairdressers and plumbers and stuff, get unnecessary education, and it kind of locks them out because they don't need to learn those skills, and you know, possibly failing a math course to be a hairdresser seems ridiculous. To be locked out of an associate's degree or a certification because of that does seem a little ridiculous. But the purpose of that is to teach you those soft skills. That's the entire purpose of them. And if you didn't get that from college, I can kind of understand because it's not exactly spelled out, but it's supposed to be, once again, like Karate Kid, you know, it's wax on, wax off, and that helps. And, you know, cleaning the yard, it helps you learn discipline, and it helps you learn muscle memory, and I don't know, like, it's supposed to teach you through experience. But you didn't, or you probably picked up a lot of those skills in college, but you don't realize it. Like, you probably picked up a lot of those skills by being in college, but because they didn't expressively spell them out, you are upset. I don't know. Maybe, like, once again, I think it sounds like you should have been a business major.
Engineers stick with the engineers, the business students stick with the business students, the med students are with the med students, and they all just have like their little cliques. If you want evidence of this, just go to like reddit.com/r/engineering students, and you'll see all the elitism there, and every single kind of career path has elitism in it.
Okay. Yes, there is a lot of elitism and little rivalries between STEM students and business students and liberal arts students and all that. But a lot of it is in jest. A lot of it is not serious, my friend. I don't know. I don't think... I think you're overreaching, man. I think that... I think you're generalizing here. Like, it's just... It's in jest. It's fun. It's a little pokes and rivalry, you know? Like, in business school, we used to say... They call us dumb now, but eventually we'll be their boss. Like, that's... A lot of that isn't serious. I think a lot of that is just jokes, man. Like, a lot of people understand that you have to be professional in a professional setting. But when you're in school, it's just like, you know, rah, team effort. I don't know. Like, I think you're just, you're reading into things a little too much there.
That's just how it exists. Everyone wants to feel like their degree is better than the others. And the engineering students one, they're like, you know, look at all these people with business degrees, they're never going to have jobs, blah, blah, blah. When you get to the job, you're going to have to interact with people that don't have any idea what you do, and you can't treat them that way. You cannot treat people that don't understand.
Yeah, that's the purpose of those first 2 years, to try to teach you to branch out and see people from different perspectives. Anyway, I've harped on that point too much.
Understand the tech stuff like you're better than them, like they're dumb. That's not acceptable. You're going to have to be able to convert all of your knowledge and communicate that to other people effectively that have no idea basically what you do, and you have to be able to explain that. That's probably the biggest soft skill there is being able to communicate with people outside of your niche, outside of what you do on the job. that will carry you when you can go talk to the business department and the design department and the product manager department and the accounting department about, well, I'm going to design this new machine and the material is a lot more expensive than we initially thought. Can we look at the budget here? Let's flex on the budget a little bit. Let's take a look at what's coming in. I think we get like an extra tax write-off because of this and that, because of this new law that got passed, or whatever it is. Like, the fact that you know all these other things and you can work with these other people really boosts you up. Or you can just ignore all that and not have to do it, and you'll just be there doing that one thing, and everyone.
Well, that's kind of like the argument for having a traditional college experience, is that having the dorms, having parties and all that stuff, and clubs and all that, that it teaches you a lot of those soft skills. Like, that's part of the reason people pay so much money for that traditional college experience. Something I did not experience. Like, I went to night school for graduate school. I went to community college for associate's degrees. Well, not exactly a community college, but a primarily associate serving institution that also has 4 years degrees and has that has a very low tuition. But basically, it was a community college just a couple of years ago. And I went to online. I mean, I finished my last 2 years in undergrad online. So I'm a non-traditional student all the way through. So I didn't have this experience. But from people who did, they learned a lot of those things by socializing on college campuses. Something that you railed against in the earlier part of the video.
Won't want to talk to you. The next thing is that college doesn't really teach you how to stand up to your boss. You can have a boss that's very demanding, and now they're holding your livelihood over you. Whereas when you're a student, they're holding your grades over you. You can't really stand up to a teacher because they'll just fail you.
You could just go to the dean and report them, or your student senator, or people who are. I mean, your college is a product, and you're a consumer. Like, that's how you have to think about it. This is what I used to tell people when I would advocate against raising tuition as a student senator. Is that tuition is like taxes, and you have to think of it that way. And if you don't want your tuition raised, you should speak out against it. And if you don't want if your professors are treating you poorly, you need to treat them kind of like politicians and hold them accountable. But whatever. Anyway, about the boss point, I don't know. I guess you're right. I don't know. Like, I kind of got the sense that the way college works, you kind of learn that skill. And, being a business major, you took business law. Business law teaches a lot of that stuff that you're speaking about when to hold bosses accountable and when your rights are being violated, and what to do as an employer and what to do as an employee. These are all things I learned. I went to human resources management class. I had a human resources class, human resources management class, business law class. It dealt with all of this. So I had a very extensive education on this in particular, but okay.
Or you can go to the head of the department, and then after that go to like the dean and stuff like that. But you know how it is. You know that when a teacher has like a personal vendetta against you. But in real life, you can stand up against your boss. You can say, hey, man, this is not fair. Let's talk about this. I don't think that this is right.
I disagree. I think that you have a lot more leverage against a professor than you do against your boss. But I don't know. I think that's just a weird difference we have yet again.
And it's okay. And you absolutely should. In my opinion, college makes great employees, but not great employers, which is kind of what the whole education.
Well, you didn't go to school for management, dude. You didn't go to school for entrepreneurship or business development. You went to school for mechanical engineering. You got an education in mechanical engineering. If you wanted to learn those skills, you should have taken a class in those skills. I'm sure your no-name Finland college offered it. I mean, if it's a normal university with a business program, it probably offered it. I mean, I didn't go to a prestigious university for my business education. Like, I went to New Mexico Highlands University, a very small school in northern New Mexico. And I went to northern New Mexico College, another small school in a rural town in northern New Mexico. And they're not the flagship schools even of the state. They're not University of New Mexico or New Mexico Tech or even New Mexico State University. Like, they're small, tiny little schools. And I learned a lot of this stuff. So I don't know, man. You do you.
Educational system does, in my opinion. You go to school Monday to Friday, you graduate eventually, and you get a job Monday to Friday, and it just kind of prepares you to be an employee. And if that's what you want, great, but just understand that's what you're getting out of it. How to do what you're told, show up when you're supposed to be.
Okay. All right, man. If you want to be told by the man what to do, man, all right. I mean, do your research on what your degree program is about. I guess that could have summarized this entire video.
And get disciplined like you're a kindergartner. My overall takeaway from college is that while you do get the degree, and some companies may value it, some companies may not, it does show that you can commit to something and do something for 4 years. Anyways.
Well, that's what most employers get out of most degrees. Like, that's the purpose, which is hilarious because this is another point I made in the previous video. Like, I don't know. Once again, he's contradicting himself.
Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I missed anything and if you enjoyed it or want to see me expand on one of these topics.
All right. So, I don't know. Maybe in a year he had a complete change of heart about college or had completely different thoughts. Or I think Occam's razor, he just doesn't like college. And he is just expressing random grievances he has about college without thinking too deeply about them. Or, actually researching some systematic problems with college, such as the one I mentioned with student loans. That would have been a better video to make. So, I don't know, man. It's just funny to me. Like, you just gotta remember, guys, when you see these guru-type people on YouTube, a lot of them are just like me, shooting stuff out of their mouth from the top of their head. They haven't thought about it too deeply. They haven't put a lot of perspective into it. They're rants. So please don't make any crucial big life decisions based off YouTube videos like mine or this guy. Do your own research, look into it yourself, and make your decision based off that. Thanks, everybody. Samuel out.